Did you match history? Did you beat history? You didn't beat anything else.
A couple of eggs.
So, gentlemen, what do you think?
It was never going to work from the word go. And the problem was, sadly, they identified the high ground. It was the right thing to do. You needed to prevent the enemy from getting to the high ground, but you shouldn't have stayed on the high ground.
Right.
Your tactics, your troops work best in a hit-and-run way, which you identified. You were talking about it.
Yeah, you kept saying hit-and-run, yeah.
You realised mobility was the key to this battle, and you got completely fixated on the high ground. When I heard you were taking your infantry up there, I knew you were scuppered. Why? Because you would then try and defend the hill, and you would probably pour your cavalry up to protect them.
Yeah.
Instead of using them against the Roman army as a whole, you basically allowed the Roman army complete tactical control of the battlefield, and they did pretty much what they wanted to.
Yeah.
See, I don't agree that you didn't have a chance once you had that concept. You could have held on to that concept and make it work for you. Because there was a point in the battle when you realized that it was going wrong. You realized that holding that one feature, which it was vital ground at the beginning of the battle, and you wanted to deny it to the enemy, well, there was a point at which you realized it was worthless to you. But you couldn't stop it all from going to hell. You were out of control, and I'll tell you why I think that was. The lieutenants were not empowered to fight their own battle. The lieutenants did not feel that they understood the commander's intent well enough to get their heads down and take their cavalry and use them flexibly. You guys fought like infantry people in command of cavalry. And you didn't have Jackie doing anything useful at all. And that was also a problem. Half of the brain power of the headshed here was not actually being drawn into this at all.
More than half, maybe.
Yeah. What you did was you allowed the vital ground that you wanted to deny to the enemy to become the great thing that you must hold at all costs. Yeah, and it doesn't matter.
All right, folks, would you do us the honour of showing us what really happened?
Our pleasure.
Very kind. Let's have a look.
Now, the Roman army is laid out in a way that Aetius, the Roman general, thinks is going to be the most effective. He's got his Romans on the left, he's got his weakest troops, the Alans, who are pretty similar to the Huns, in the middle. They're the mobility. And on the right side, he's got the Visigoths. But the very first thing he does is he sends his cavalry round to take the high ground.
Now, Attila is out there with a bunch of wild and woolly people. He's got his own Huns in the center, he's got Gepids on the right, and on his left he's got Ostrogoths, and far to his rear, Attila has got a big circle of wagons with the women, children, supplies, remounts, which we'll demonstrate here with this biali. So that's in the rear, and that's lunch for all of these horse out here. Attila did not see until it was too late that he was going to lose that piece of vital ground, and he desperately attempts to deny it by sending some cavalry up there, but it's no use. Now, at this point, Attila just goes at it without having that piece of ground. Attila just moves out there, he's going after the Romans.
So he's made inroads in the centre, and the Alans, who, as Aetius recognised, were his weakest troops, are beginning to buckle under the strain. But he's still holding his own on his side with the Romans, and on this side with the Visigoths. So Aetius takes the decision to send his Visigoths round the side in the hope that he can get behind and actually get to their wagon before they can get back.
And Attila sees this, he sees this in time, and he turns to the side, and he's able to go for the Goths' flank. Instead of cutting off the Huns, they get sucked into fighting the Huns. It all goes to hell in a handbasket. And all Attila can see when he looks up the hill is his allies, the Gepids, and they're engaged with some pretty chunky Romans, and he goes with his instinct. So Attila goes with his instinct, he pulls his Huns off the field, they go back to the wagon train.
The next obvious move for Aetius is to finish the Huns while he can. He's got Attila, the scourge of God, the man who swept across Europe, in the palm of his hands. All he needs to do is besiege this wagon train. What does he do? He doesn't attack. The question is why, and the answer possibly, we don't know for sure, but the answer possibly is that he thinks that if he wipes out the Huns, the Visigoths are going to become the Romans' next great enemy, and they will pose just as big, if not a bigger threat, and therefore he leaves enough of the Huns as a danger.
Just a year later, Attila regrouped his forces and crossed the Alps into Italy, where he sacked several cities and even threatened Rome. Aetius' famous victory at Chalons earned him celebrity amongst his fellow Romans, but the envy of the Emperor Valentinian, who subsequently murdered the 60-year-old Aetius with the imperial sword. Within a generation, the Western Roman Empire had collapsed.
So that's what happened. Just before we finish, I want you to reassure us that none of you is actually involved in any real battle planning for the British Army. That's reassuring. Thanks for playing the game. Well done. Thanks, Jackie. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Very nice indeed.